Hey, yes, we are. We
We're
are
back. All
actually
right.
we're
So,
on.
well, we've been gone for a couple of weeks to
Yeah,
evidently Tallahassee and
yeah.
the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson, Jason Crawford, Paul Reed here. Welcome back to Live Feed Reads, by the way. But
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
he Tallahassee got smoked with sounds like
Dude,
a
it did.
couple of tornadoes last Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, it was four touchdown
4 touchdowns. So
and
Jason had
ripped
no
through.
internet, no air
Yeah,
conditioning, no
we,
electricity.
yeah, we lost a lot of
Four
food.
kids homeschooled. What a
Right.
nightmare. It's a wonder Jason's still with us. He still looks a little frazzled.
I am. No.
All right.
Yeah.
But welcome back
Oh man.
for another
Yeah.
edition. I don't know if Jason was able to get the title up, but
Yeah.
as you know, guys, I do read the Florida Law Weekly. It comes out
Mm-hmm.
weekly, and it has cases on all types of different topics from family law to criminal law, and of course, what we do here at Read and Read, which is personal injury. And, I was reading a Supreme Court case, which typically the Supreme Court cases, I'd say about, I don't know, 90% deal with the death penalty.
Ooh.
Somebody has been sentenced to death. And of course, as everyone knows, it goes through several appeals, both first at the state level, and then it gets shifted over to the federal level. And it takes years and years and years. And that's most of what, honestly,
Ooh.
I read and I just find it
I didn't
interesting.
know that. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's
it's,
wild.
if you look through them, a lot of them are the death penalty cases. And
Yeah, wow.
but this one here had to do with Florida's Wrongful Death Act, which
Okay.
was enacted, I believe, in the 70s. Okay, but so
Okay.
we start there. So this is a Wrongful Death Act case, and I'm going to give you a definition of what's the common law, because
Okay.
it's important. So the
Yes.
common law is a body of unwritten laws based on legal precedents established by the courts. That's one definition.
Okay.
Another is that it's derived from judicial decisions instead of statutes. And statutes are when the government makes a law. And
How
then
is that different from the first one?
it's not. These
Oh,
are
okay.
all
Okay.
definitions. And then
Okay.
common
Okay.
law
Okay.
is based on past judicial opinions, while statutory law is based on current statutes. So basically, before 1972, I believe, the wrongful death, negligence actions were just based on court decisions.
Okay. So common
Then they
law. Okay.
enacted a statute, and that's what dictates the law now.
Okay.
But there is still interpretations to that statute, which is what all these are, statutes that are being interpreted. Okay, you with me so far?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So on this case here, it was decided literally May 9th of 2024, and
Oh
it's
man.
basically the issue was under the act, the surviving under the Wrongful Death Act, the surviving spouse may recover damages for loss of the decedent's, in this case the husband's, companionship, protection, and mental pain and suffering. Those are what we call damages. Um,
Okay.
If there is not a surviving spouse, then adult children may also recover loss of parental companionship, instruction, guidance, and mental pain and suffering.
Okay.
Okay. Now, minor children, they can recover these damages regardless of whether there's a spouse or not. But this case has
Oh,
to
okay.
do with a surviving spouse and
Okay.
adult children, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the individual, the decedent here, was exposed to asbestos from like the 50s to the 90s.
Okay.
Okay. And ultimately he died of mesothelioma. And everybody has seen the
The
commercials.
commercials. Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Mesothelioma.
not unfamiliar territory.
Okay. Right.
All
Okay.
right, so but here's the issue. Um, on July 4th of 2015, I'm sorry. On May 22nd of 2015 is when he was diagnosed with mesothelioma related to the asbestos exposure.
Okay.
So May 15th. On July 4th, of 2015, a couple of months later, is when he married his longtime
Uh-oh.
woman companion who he'd lived with for decades. But I guess for a number of reasons, they finally got married.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
So they've been together for a long time, but
decades,
we're
decades,
okay.
just
Got you.
never
Oh, okay.
tied the knot. But
Okay.
probably they, knowing that he was going to die, which he did November 4th, 4 months later, there were some
Mm.
financial benefits to it, from probably Social Security and this, that, and the other thing. You with me? All
Yeah,
right.
closing a technical
So
loop,
so
maybe.
they
Yeah.
they 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 get married, and he dies in November, and shortly thereafter, this lawsuit is filed, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the plaintiffs, meaning the people bringing the lawsuit, are twofold. One, the spouse, the surviving spouse, and two, the adult children.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the plaintiffs.
Did you say how old he was?
It didn't say, but I
Okay.
mean, he was in the 50s,
Okay.
exposed. So if he's working at 20s, and he's probably 70s, give or take.
Okay.
All right, so they filed the complaint, and then the defendants in the lawsuit, there were several. You sue this person, let them
Okay.
figure out who's responsible. Move for what's called a summary judgment on the pleadings. And what that means is you lay out in your complaint what happened and who's who, and what they said is, well, based on what your pleadings are, not even depositions, interrogatories, just
Yeah.
on what you've alleged, a summary judgment should be granted and the case dismissed.
Okay. So like it's a known thing. It's
You,
not
you,
even
yeah,
bother
we're,
digging
we're,
into
we're
it.
asking the court to dismiss your complaint on what you're saying,
Yeah.
on the pleadings, because your pleadings are such that what you're saying is you're not allowed to bring this complaint. And I'll explain. But
Okay.
this is right at the beginning. And so we're in
Mm-hmm.
the trial court, and what the defendants argued, that under common law,
Okay.
older law, not statutory law, that the wife, the spouse, is not a surviving spouse because they were not married at the time of the injury.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me? So
Mm-hmm.
under the common law, the theory was the spouse cannot recover damages because she was not married to the decedent at the time of the injury, which is the time of the exposure. And the argument is basically that you can't marry into an injured person to get a claim.
Yeah. You knew what you were getting into when you married them,
Well,
so
it's just you
that
can't marry into a lawsuit.
to get a right. Okay.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's,
Okay.
believe it or not, it was called the marriage before injury defense. If you're married before the injury, then
Mm.
you're the surviving
Oh
spouse,
boy.
you can recover.
Mm.
But if you're not married at the time of the injury, which is here, then you can't recover, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. And we'll get to the Wrongful
Mm.
Death Act later, because that's what the Supreme Court was dealing with. Well, the trial
Mm.
court said, yes, under the common law, you were not a surviving spouse. Therefore, motion for summary judgment, case dismissed as for the
Ooh.
wife.
Okay.
You
So
with
there
me?
was,
For the
yeah, so
wife's
they
side.
didn't look into any of the history in terms of how long they were together. They just saw the date. There you go.
Period. You were
Ooh,
exposed from the 50s to the
oh,
90s.
that's the kind of stuff we don't want to hear about, Paul.
You got diagnosed
Yeah,
on the 22nd, and
yeah,
you got married, and you got married in July. So,
yeah. You did this to cash in. The
well,
date,
that's the
cha-ching. That
marriage
was the defense.
before injury defense. Anyway, granted, she's
Okay,
out, right?
okay.
All right. So now, follow me.
Yep.
One would think, okay, so there's no surviving spouse, right?
Okay.
Well, the rule
No
is
way.
no
Don't tell me
surviving.
that they argue she's a surviving spouse right after they
Well,
argue
no,
that
they
she's
they
not.
said because there's no surviving spouse,
Yeah.
that the adult children say, well, there's no surviving spouse, so
So
we
we
should
can
be able
claim.
to continue with our claim.
Yeah.
Well, after the summary judgment order was entered that the surviving spouse is out, under a different section of the statute, they say, well, there's a surviving spouse, So the adult children are out.
Can't. I knew it. No way, bro. That's terrible. Oh, you lived together for so long, you're
Well,
counted by law. It's like, was it common law marriage?
trial
Is that
court
what it is?
agrees and said, well, under this statute over here, there is a
No.
surviving spouse, kids are out.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So,
These are the loopholes we hate, man.
well,
Ooh.
that's it. Now, okay, so that's
All
what
right.
happened.
Okay.
Now, the kicker was the judge had choices.
Okay.
There was a First Circuit Court of Appeal case that the judge went with, and that's how he booted them both.
Okay.
There's a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal said no, the Wrongful Death Act on 1972, which is what you should have been looking at, says she's a surviving spouse because surviving spouse means you're married to that individual when he died, period.
Okay. Okay.
So
Different
the
case.
court
Okay.
said surviving spouse doesn't count because you had to be married
Mm.
before the injury. Fifth District said surviving spouse basically means when he died, was he married? You with me?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So that's the case in a nutshell.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
hey, how would you hate to be that judge?
how would you hate to be the spouse and or the
Bro.
kid? Wait a minute.
They'd have to tie me down,
hey,
man.
my mom or the wife can't recover because she's not a surviving spouse. She's not a surviving spouse.
Yeah.
But we can't recover because she's a surviving spouse.
Dude, it's the quintessential talking out of both sides of your mouth thing, right?
And it worked.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that sucks that it works, then.
That's why, of course, there's a split. Remember how I talked about if there's a conflict, that the law has to be uniform everywhere. So you can't have, in the Fourth District saying,
right.
You have to be married at the time of the injury, and you can't have the Fifth District saying the surviving spouse
Right.
at the time.
Yeah, come to a.
So you got to go to the Supreme Court. All right.
Okay.
Here's
and
your
that's
question.
where we ended up. Yeah.
What does the Supreme Court say?
Where's the drum roll? Hold on. It's here somewhere. Oh.
Give me a drum roll.
I can't. Where did it go?
I don't know. You're very.
I can't find it. All right. So let me think for a second. So
both the children and the wife appealed to the Supreme Court saying, look, the Fourth District Court of Appeal is wrong.
Right.
You think the Fifth District Court of Appeal got it right? That surviving spouse means at time of death, and it does not matter when they were married.
Yeah, man. I would have gone a completely different way. So I don't know what I don't know. I would say that they went with the surviving spouse means at time of death.
Well, you're ding, 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 ding,
okay.
Because what they do is, and the Supreme Court says, look, this is strictly statutory interpretation.
Right.
They're not really looking at, the kids being screwed or the wife and this. They're saying, what does the statute say, the wrongful death statute? What is
the letter of the law, not the spirit?
So they go on for pages, analyzing it, discussing it, and so forth. But the bottom line, they ruled that the surviving spouse means, were you married at the time of death?
There we go. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. Well,
which disavowed the common law marriage before injury defense.
Yeah. I don't understand, and maybe you can help me, like pour insight into this for me. But like, I don't understand why they don't look at the decades of living with and being a dependent. Like you're filing jointly. You're doing. You know what I mean? Like
how intuitive of you. If that's the right word. Because in the ruling at the very end, however, Jason.
Okay.
This decision says nothing to prevent a jury from considering the timing and duration of the couple's marriage.
Yeah.
And evaluating a claim for damages.
Okay, good.
So the jury could say, oh, okay, you got married 4 months before his death.
Yeah, okay, good. So there's room. Okay.
But your argument would be, yeah, but we were living together for decades.
Yeah.
We just
dependent,
got married
single income,
for
whatever. Yeah, all
benefit.
the
Well, just for the government benefit,
yeah,
whatever. But
yeah,
this
yeah.
wasn't. We got married just for this lawsuit because
Right.
if we weren't married, guess who could have brought the claim anyway?
The children. There's no
Right,
surviving spouse.
right.
Right.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, what if he has 5 children?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm the defense, I'd rather be giving money to one wife, no offense, than five
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, than
Yeah.
5 kids, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Or
Yeah, if it's a homeschool
this is the
family, he's gonna
50s.
have like 10
Hey,
kids.
good Catholics, they may have 10 kids, right? So, I'd probably rather, hey, we got a wife versus, a bunch of kids. But either way, I found that to be pretty interesting. I got
Yeah.
news for you. It is not something that I'd had to deal with, and I learned about the
Interesting.
marriage before injury defense. Never heard of it. It's just not something that come up, and I
Yeah,
got to
it's
be honest.
one of those like,
Kudos, to the defense guys, those
yeah,
weasels.
man.
I love them. That was a pretty good lawyering.
That's clever.
Now,
That's clever.
ultimately, they lost, but
Yeah.
you can guess this probably took 10 years.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
mind
mean,
now, mind you, hold
10
on.
years.
Guess what?
Did she die in that time frame?
Well, the
Like, jeez.
decision was May 9th, right?
Okay.
So now what happens?
I don't know.
The lawsuit finally begins.
Oh my word. That
Yeah,
was for the summary judgment
so
claim?
this wasn't even the lawsuit.
Oh my
This was
word.
just summary judgment on the
No.
pleadings. So
Oh my
now the
word.
lawsuit begins. That can take 3 to 5 years.
Bro, that's disheartening. That is
Yeah, how about
what?
that little bomb?
She'll be 90 before she sees any of that.
Lord have mercy. I'm just
What in
saying.
the world?
So now you get to start the lawsuit.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That, and then the company files bankruptcy or something. I don't know. Like that.
Let's
What
see.
in the world?
Well, yeah, that's always possible.
Jeez.
I'm sure. Let's see who was
Yeah,
this.
I'm not saying that because I know anything. So like, don't, if anybody hears this,
No,
don't take
this
that
is
the
a big
wrong
one.
way. Like,
Yeah, I'm not even gonna say it either. They're not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
this
that's
is
good.
the big one.
Holy moly, man.
I know.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
All right, well, that's there you go. So the
Hmm.
Wrongful Death Act was finally interpreted by the Supreme Court to mean surviving spouse is simply if you're married at the time of
Married
death.
at the time
But
of
like
death.
Jason said, I think you brought it up 2 or 3 times. They can take into account whether there's some type of funny business, so to speak. Well, we got married just so I could, bring a lawsuit,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But they can take all that into consideration.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't even catch that you were talking about this is all for the summary judgment. That
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
even the trial. Like
Not
it
even-
makes sense now why.
Hadn't even started yet.
Dude, holy moly. Yikes.
Yeah.
All right, well thank you for that trip down
Well,
wrongful
there you
death
go.
lane.
And then you say you wonder why lawyers make a lot of money. This ain't
You
easy.
sure?
This
Yeah,
ain't
okay,
easy.
that makes sense. Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean, can you
10
imagine?
years?
You're sitting there and you're
Holy
like, what?
moly.
Huh? What do I do with
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a new lawyer or a new law firm up and coming and have to float a case like that for 10 years to see it to the end? Like,
I got news for you. Neither one of these were newbies. I got
yeah,
I can
well,
say that
yeah,
much.
yeah.
But anyway, all right. Well, so I remember you were buying a house or working on
We
it.
are. So we're in the process, and I think I'm supposed to find out today if we're on track or not. So I'll wait to hear some of that back. But we had to get a new 4-point. The seller agreed to take care of all the stuff related to 4-point and all the ductwork, which had fallen apart underneath the house. So
Yeah.
yay to that. The chimney that seemed like it was like going places on its own has actually been stabilized by the foundation company, but like somebody had burned down a disgruntled employee had burned down the records warehouse, so they didn't have record of having done the work.
Oh.
So they dug it up, and we're like, okay, cool, that's good and all, but yeah, we're still hoping to close by the end of the month.
All right. Well,
Thank you,
congratulations. We'll follow up
Thank
next
you.
week. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Next Friday,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to Texas. My
Okay,
buddy
I'll
lives
be
in
out of town
Houston.
too.
All right. Well, then,
So-
people, we will not be here next Friday.
All right.
Memorial Day weekend. So we will take off. And then again,
I'll be at the largest homeschool convention in the U.S.
Crystal, which is Jason's
Oh, yeah.
wife and I wrote, The Other Side of the Law. If you haven't read it,
Yeah.
it's good.
Oh, she's doing an author signing this weekend at a local bookstore up here in Tallahassee.
Well, good.
So
She's a
if
very
things
good
go
author.
well, they'll maybe give her room to put other of her books on the shelf, and we're thinking about trying to slip that one in. So
All right, good deal.
Yeah.
Well, take us out.
You got
That's it. That's it for summer's here. It's hot, it's humid, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
We will see you.
Do you have
in
plans
2
this
weeks.
weekend?
Huh?
Do you have plans this weekend?
Nah.
Chill, relax,
Hanging.
shoot some of the ducks on your back porch with
Well,
BB
we don't
guns.
talk about that, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, stare at the ducks
we don't
as
talk
they
about
poop
that,
on all your
Jason.
stuff.
I'm not the governor of wherever that kills dogs because they're stupid.
I'll take us out. Oh yeah.
Read and Read, it's like having a lawyer in the family.